Yeah. Right in the valve pack. Yeah.
They pulled the pipe, he had told them before, why don't you just let me look at this little spot right here? They wouldn't do it, and then they were proven to be wrong.
It was inside the butterfly valve.
So right where the water was flushing, there's a valve right there. When it came rushing down, instead of turning left and going out, it pushed up against the valve, it was stuck like
I'll have
5
pictures
feet
later.
from, yeah, he pulled it out with a crowbar in his arm.
Yeah.
Nice.
You gotta get dirty sometimes.
You can make the, mics.
Hi, please. Very good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Board of Directors of the Indian Wells Valley Water District, Monday, March 10th, 2025. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. Director Kaczynski, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes. Hand over heart, please follow me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
President St. Amand,
Present.
Vice President Griffin, Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Kaczynski,
here.
Director Rotora.
Here. All right, thank you. Posting of agenda declaration.
The agenda for today's regular board meeting was posted on Thursday, March 6, 2025.
Conflict of interest?
President St. Amand,
None.
Vice President Griffin is absent, Director Boyd,
None.
Director Kaczynski,
None.
Director Rotora.
None.
All right. There's no one from the public present in our boardroom. Do we have anybody online? All right. Well, public questions and comments, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to closed session. So we will close the open session and open the closed session at 4:32 p.m. Thank you. All right. Thank you. We have closed the closed session, and we're now going to reopen the open session at 6:02. For the record, first, though, I would like to have Lauren do the roll call.
President St. Amand,
Present.
Vice President Griffin,
Present.
Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Kaczynski,
Here.
Director Rotora.
Here. Thank you. Jim, you have a statement for us about the closed session.
The board met in closed session. There was no action taken that requires disclosure under the Brown Act. That's all.
Thank you, Jim. All right, public questions and comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on the agenda and over which the board has jurisdiction. However, no action may be taken by the board of directors on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Non-agenda speakers are asked to limit their presentation to 5 minutes. Public questions and comments on items listed on the agenda will be accepted at the time that item is brought forth for consideration by the board. When you're recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Sophia Merck. Everybody calls me Sam. The first thing I'd like to talk about is thanking the Indian Wells Valley Water District for having the RAB meetings again. That's the Restoration Advisory Board. And thank you very much for letting us come here. The public needs to be able to interface with the Navy. The second thing I wanted to talk about is I'm a bulk water hauler, have been since 1980. It's a long time. I have 2 accounts with the Indian Wells Valley Water District. One of them is in town, and I have no problem with that. I know the rates are going up, and I know you guys have a lot of legal problems that you're going through, and that's why the rates are going up the way they are. But one thing, the public is notified if there's a rate change or your monthly bill is going to change or anything like that. A bulk water hauler is not notified. It's always a surprise. And it was this time. In the last 10 days, we've had 2 rate changes. It went up to $10 for 1,000 gallons. And then 4 days later, it went up to $11.20 for the same 1,000 gallons. We also were not notified that our monthly pay that we pay at the station every month also increased. So I was surprised when I called the water district and found out that I owed $1.26. I don't like surprises like that. I like to pay in advance, and I like to know what I'm paying for. We're never apprised of whether the 1,000 gallons that we're buying is calibrated at that station and who is calibrating it. I have no problem with the Indian Wells Valley Water District, but we pay through another contractor for this service, and we can't get information. I like to be able to pay my bills And I know that you want me to pay my bills, but surprises are not fun. But thank you very much for listening to me. And the next time there's another rate increase or gallon increase, please let us know. You know, a lot of us up on the hill are never notified. A lot of us just barely make it. A lot of us up on the hill drive really old water trucks. My tranny's going out in my water truck, you know. So we have to plan in advance, just like you do. Thank you for your time.
Sam, did you say you had 2 different water bill increases? Did I hear you right there?
Yeah, and she did, and I had the same question, Stan, so I was gonna ask Ty that question. And then she also mentioned the price per water in 1,000 gallons. So is the bulk water different? Is it not charged in units of 748 gallons per unit? Or,
Those.
and then
Yeah.
let me finish my questions and then answer. But I'm curious, why an increase twice in a month? And then also, were the bulk water haulers, why would they not be notified under Prop 218? Because we have them all registered, so that doesn't make sense to me.
Right, yeah, we sent out over 15,000 notices, so I don't know why they wouldn't have received them. We also advertised or put it in the paper to
Okay.
make sure we covered
And
everything.
Sam, did you receive your notification for the one in town as far as the increase, or do we have a mailing problem, or?
I received the one in town for my in-town place, but not anything for up there for the bulk water.
Okay, and then you made another comment that I wanted to clarify if I could, that we had a lot of legal expenses and that's why our rates were going up. Our rates did not just go up because of legal. I'm sure that did add to it a little bit, but we've had a drastic reduction in water usage. And so our usage was not as high, so we didn't meet our budget. So that's probably the biggest reason.
That and future capital.
In future capital
needs.
improvements, yes.
Yeah.
And repairs to the system.
Yeah.
And replacement of pipes.
Now, as far as the 2 rate increases, it was brought to our attention by a bulk hauler that we weren't charging the rate that was actually approved. I don't know if there's a snafu with the system, but we were undercharging. So we did correct that, and then it was about a week later when the new rate went into place.
So
Now, they're charged on 1,000, or it's billed based on gallons out at the bulk station, but in the
No.
manual.
We also pay per month
Yes, yeah,
for
understand. that.
in-service.
Yes, understand that. I'm
And
talking,
that increased too, and we weren't notified of that.
Okay, so it sounds like one bulk hauler was notified because they called to your attention the fact that you were undercharging.
right,
Okay, so it's not every bulk hauler that is not receiving notice.
right.
Okay, and then she mentioned a third-party biller, so did they not pay directly to the district? Is that billed somewhere?
No, they
else?
pay directly to the district. We have a separate, a different software system that manages the
Okay.
bulk system.
But it's not another company. we're
It's
going
not
through,
another-
It's our software.
It's our software.
Okay, understand that.
Okay, thank you.
So their 1,000 gallons works out to the same as our unit cost at 748
Right.
gallons per unit. It just comes out to the same, so they're
Right.
paying.
It's about 1.1 cent per gallon
Okay,
now.
got you. Okay.
And then we do tests, we have the test results for the meter and the calibration and everything. We've done that to make sure that we're not overcharging or
Okay.
every.
So what is there,
Excuse me.
18?
It is $11.20 for 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, I said per gallon, 1.1.
$11.20.
Per 1,000 gallons, correct, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah, so it comes out to
1.1 cent per gallon.
1.1 cent per gallon. Okay, so how many bulk haulers are there? 18, 19?
There's about that many, yeah.
Oh, okay. So in the future then, how do we, I just want to make sure everybody's notified because I agree with Sam, we don't want a surprise, but we also, I feel that we let them know because we posted it in the paper also.
We did. No.
I assume we
set
could
up-
post it on the actual bulk station if we had to, we could.
We,
post it
we'll,
on-
we'll do that in the future. We'll
Yeah,
post
so
it.
in the future,
we'll
maybe
put
we can
something
just
out there.
post it right there on the bulk station.
That's a good
Okay.
idea. All right, thank you.
And I think the notice that you got at your other address had the new bulk station rates in it also. It had all the new rates in it. Yeah. So it was in there.
Good evening, Mike Neal.
Mike,
As promised, we're going to talk about water conservation again. We have just been discussing this back and forth because I keep being stubborn and bringing it up. Anyway, at the last committee meeting, which was water management, I forget what it is now. Anyway, it was stated, and prior to that, actually, that a possible means of conservation would be to find some magical means of funding the cost to put in mini split systems to get people on refrigerated air conditioning and not on swamp coolers. That was stated to be, this is a one case situation that was stated $26,000 to put in the system, put on the panels to, I guess, provide the electricity for that, maybe even a little more. I'm not sure about that. It's also been stated by staff here that if we got rid of all the swamp coolers in town, and I'd be curious to know how they came up with the number, but the number was we'd save 1,500 acre feet of water per year. The thing I've been pushing, which is a low-cost alternative, is to do a little work and start addressing the situation of elimination of green lawn space, and at least in front yards around town, which in many cases is a no-cost approach to saving water because God just turns off the water and lets it go to dirt. And I've seen that around my neighborhood in a number of cases. Eventually, most of them xeriscape, they do something, they put stuff out there, they put rocks out there or whatever. But it doesn't have to really cost them much of anything. Now, just as a comparison, if you take say that 1,500 acre feet of water per year is saved from not using swamp coolers, and you divide that by the approximately 12,500 users, and then you multiply and say, okay, cost over 30 years, what you get is 3.6 acre feet per user over 30 years. So it seems like, unless we get free money that falls from heaven, which we could argue about where that actually came from for a while, $26,000 to save 3.6 acre feet is a lot of money. Comes to over $8,000 an acre foot. So without further numerical battering back and forth, I'm going to propound that conservation and elimination of front yard lawn space is the winner hands down cost-wise. Might not even cost anybody anything, or if you can get the state to back up their push for lower water use, and you can say, well, we could do that, guys, give us a little money and you'll help us talk these guys into getting rid of green lawn space. And it might cost very little, and you might be surprised how much water it saves.
all right, thank you very much.
Judy Decker. Along those lines, I drove down Garris Street the other day, hadn't been down that street in quite a while. It's a one-block street that goes from Norma to Sierra View, and there's hardly any front lawns anymore on that street. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to comment on your leaks. And the reason I wanted to comment on them is, I believe it was because I asked him at the GA meeting, I asked Chuck about the Brady Street line. Was it the same material that was in 178? And he said it was. And so my question is, how many miles of that particular type of water line do we have in the district? Is the line that goes from the A-zone tanks out to the southwest well field. Is that the same kind of pipe? Is the pipe that was put in that goes from the Primavera well complex and connects the China Lake Acres, is that the same kind of pipe too?
Yes.
The short answer is yes, and I think we'll be talking about this a little bit later in the,
Okay, I wasn't real sure.
so we'll be talking, I think there's a section in the agenda for the Brady waterline break, is that correct?
Yeah, and my question was, holy moly, look what you have to look forward to, I guess, with this pipe. And is there, you've always talked about replacing old lines and you've really kept up with it over the years. But now I'm really concerned because you have so many miles of this particular manufacturer of pipe. And so have you been looking at a large capital? You talk about Springer Street Reservoir and stuff, but have you been talking about
So,
a replacement plan for all this large pipe?
yeah, so you'll see later in the meeting, there'll be an agenda item about creating, I believe, a supervisory position for construction crew, and that construction crew will be dedicated to this specific task that you're talking about. So we'll talk about that more then. And I like nothing better than a good challenge, and I hope we can get through this one, and we have the great people to do it.
I feel really bad about it because I was on the board when that pipe was selected.
You made the best decision you could at the time with the
Yes.
information you had.
Yes.
And that was
thank
the
you.
best pipe available at that time, and look where we're at.
It's just horrifying.
I think I safely say on behalf of the board that we were horrified too.
He was out there.
I was
We've had
out
a
there,
number of
yeah.
Board members come and visit the site of the water break and.
In fact, I was
themselves.
pestering the crew this afternoon on my way over here. Were there any other public comments? Anyone online wanted to pitch in? Nope. All right. Then let's go ahead to item 9A, consent calendar. Approval of minutes of the regular board meeting and accounts payable. Do I have anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any commentary from the public?
Yes, Mike Neal again. So I was looking at the past minutes of the admin exec committee, and I guess I having a memory lapse problem here. Somebody give me a brief reminder of on that meeting what the alternate water sources discussion was about. I was going to be talking to NAWS about participating in an environment resiliency program and development of capture bases for various runoffs. Short format, what was that?
Won't be in the minutes.
I believe we'll be talking about that as well. John's here. We're going to have a discussion about, and John can come up and comment on this. There's I believe a program that one of 3 Navy bases for resiliency that is China bases, China Lake is one of those bases. And I believe we're going to have some discussions about things that might be able to done environmentally. I believe it's not lots of concrete and steel, but more land-based management. And we're going to discuss what opportunities exist there.
Oh, that's later on
Yeah.
on the agenda. Okay. I'll continue with
John,
that.
feel free to comment.
Okay.
It is. Want to make a comment?
Yeah, the project that George is referring to is the Nature-Based Solutions Project. Right now, they're selecting 3 California-based installations, China Lake being one of them, to look at that and find some solutions to meet some of our resiliency components. In this case, flooding, of course, going into the range near Snort and at the airfield. So this can be put together hopefully with our REPI program, possibly with our Defense Community Infrastructure Program as well. They're both competitive programs financially, but if we can find the right project, the right sites, we can hopefully work together and try and get some DOD money to help pay for programs that can support the installation as well as the community.
That'd be
Very nice.
outstanding. Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay, any other commentary from the public about the consent calendar? All right, any discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and vote, please. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item B, Board of Directors Manual. The Districts of Distinction application requires the district's board minute action adopting and/or having reviewed the policies and procedures manual within the last year. Okay,
So I did update the manual at the beginning of the year, and all of you should have received it. And I did send a digital copy over the weekend, so hopefully you had time to review that. But as part of the reaccreditation for the District of Distinction certificate, we do need the board to review and adopt the policies and procedures Board of Directors manual.
okay. Do you have anything else from us in this evening's meeting?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a couple more items, but not
I
this.
mean, I'm not on this one particularly. All right. Very good. So there's nothing else to do with this one, except,
Yeah, well, I think.
go ahead.
Yeah, we need a motion to approve the manual. I
Well, that was
assume
the
you.
question.
Have you all
Okay.
seen the manual?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'd say a motion to adopt the most current version of the
Yeah.
Board of Directors Manual. And you could
I'll
do
make a
the
motion that
word-
we adopt the most current version of the director's manual.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any public comment? Is there any commentary or discussion from the board? All right, let's go ahead and vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you, Lauren. Item C, restructuring of the organization chart. Staff to request board to consider restructuring the organizational chart and the creation of a supervisor's position to accommodate the formation of a construction crew.
Packet, you'll see a revised organization chart, which shows operations split into two crews now. One being the construction crew, the other one being a maintenance crew. And then two guys who we'll call water quality, who will be in charge of no-des, locates, valves, things of that nature. And looking for approval of this, and it also includes approval of the new position of a supervisor, construction crew supervisor. It does not add any additional employees. It just changes one of the MRC positions to a supervisor position.
Any comments from the questions to the public? All right, directors,
Yes, I have one.
go ahead.
Is this a permanent position or?
Yes.
is it until, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just for some background, as the public mentioned, we are looking at a multi-year endeavor to replace a lot of this CMLC pipeline that we have, and we believe this is going to be the most cost-effective way, and you'll see proposals in the future about how what we'll be doing in-house, and then some of the things that we might be doing by contract, but we're gonna move in this direction quickly so that we can try to address this problem as soon as possible. You've already approved the purchase of, how many feet of pipe did we purchase? Was it 1,000?
1 mile.
1 mile pipe. So we have pipe, and we're looking at what type of equipment we need and what needs to be done. So we are preparing, we are hoping for the best, but preparing for, additional failures on that line. And our intent is to replace that entire line first from down Brady and over to the Bowman tanks.
So you'll be opening up positions then on a construction crew?
Yes.
Positions, right?
Yeah, there'll be a construction crew tech
Okay.
and 2 construction crew operators.
All right, and the reason for this was that it is actually cheaper to have the construction crew in-house rather than to depend on contractors. Can you give us a rough order of magnitude in terms of percent, how much of a savings we might expect to see?
Well, for example, the pipe we just replaced was around 6.5 million, and I think we can do that in-house for about 4.
Okay, so about 60% roughly, okay. Go ahead.
I just want to make the same comment you were making, and I actually think it would probably be a little cheaper. So I think it's a benefit to the district to do this, and you had asked about the long-term. I think it should be a permanent position. We've got an extensive project list of piping that needs to be done, upgrades. And at this rate, it will save the ratepayers a tremendous amount of money because we're not sending them out to be prevailing wage jobs where the district would then have to pay prevailing wage to every employee, which is probably close to double on what we're paying our employees per hour to work. So each hour we save, we could have 2 people doing that job for 1 person. So just without a contractor markup. So I think it's a huge benefit to the district to do this and to the customers.
Director Torah?
I'm total agree with the concept, but I'm curious, there was no mention of funding, or that is this fiscal year funding, which I don't think is available. Was that the intent is this being done for next fiscal year, or what's the intent?
It was my understanding that there wasn't going to be a cost because there's not going to be a new employee.
Yeah.
They're
so
just going to
there will-
reorganize.
There will be a change fiscally as we move something, let's see, an MRC operator moves to a supervisor position. Based on the rest of the fiscal year remaining, it'd be about $2,300 for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And Ty and I talked, and we could technically be putting in Rademacher and charging it off to the capital project and getting reimbursed for that, offsetting that
So
cost.
minimal impact at this point in
Very little,
time.
if nothing.
And the org chart doesn't actually indicate that it reports to the operations manager, but I was kind of assuming that was what the intent was, but there's no indication on the org chart of that being the case.
We'll put a line there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I drew my line in myself. Is that okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Or line.
Yeah.
You just.
Kaczynski?
When will the crew be operational?
I'm hoping within a month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I have one more question.
Very good.
Knowing the equipment the district has, are we going to anticipate budgeting for more equipment? Because
So,
we're
yeah.
going to need an excavator and some stuff in the future, I would think. If we're
Well,
going to
we will be putting that in the budget. I want to get the supervisor in position so we can have those discussions, possibly rent equipment and see which is best and kind of bring a better idea to the board about exactly what we need.
So the CIP matrix does already include a backhoe.
Yes, I just think if we're gonna, just me thinking, Stan, if we're gonna do larger pipe, we're probably potentially gonna need an excavator because a lot of that pipe, if it's 24-inch, 36-inch, you have to push it together. And so a lot of times your backhoe arm won't extend far enough to reach the end of the pipe. And so an excavator would be something that would be more efficient and faster. So that was just my question.
That is in the works.
More budget money. Okay.
Okay.
It's in the works.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion for the restructuring of the organization, right? Oh, who does? Oh, online?
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. If you're talking, Renee, you're on mute. Is she on mute, Jason?
She's on mute. I've asked her to unmute. I don't see anything. Oh. No, there's no chat. Now there is. Let me bring that over so I can read it. Oh, she's trying to unmute and it won't let her.
Oh.
She,
oh,
There we go.
there she is.
hello.
Hello, what does MRC stand for? MRC?
Maintenance, repair, and construction.
Okay, so that's the added position you're putting into the organizational chart?
We're changing one of the MRC operators to a construction crew supervisor.
Okay, so it's maintenance,
Repair
repair,
and construction.
okay. All right, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. For the record, that's Renee Westalesk. All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, then let's call for the vote, please. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Right, item D, Finance Committee. Recycled Water Project Preliminary Engineering Analysis.
George, did you want to start this one out on the recycled water, or do you want me to?
Yeah, okay. We've looked at this and, I think, we did get a bid from our, KNS, our engineering firm, of about $175,000. However, we have not had much success, in, obtaining any sort of commitment from the city, to get water from the wastewater treatment plant. And I believe the recommendation at this point in time from myself is to hold and await the city to see what they intend to do with the wastewater from their wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. And this boils out of, George has been having meetings with Ron. We actually went to the city council meeting to request that that Ron and George talk about some sort of a commitment that water would be there if, and we'd spent all the money in engineering, it was a feasible project. And we heard nothing. Basically, the city is standing firm that basically that water isn't available to us.
Okay.
And so based on that, I concur with George. I think that until the city gets to the point where they decide they have to do something with the wastewater from the treatment plant, and they come to us and say, hey, we're here, or we go to them, however it works, that I cannot foresee spending any more further money on this project, especially considering things we're talking about tonight.
Okay.
Pipeline replacements and such, yeah.
I want to say I agree with you, Ron, but I think it's a shame that we can't work out some kind of an arrangement, whether it be with the city through the groundwater authority or whatever we have to do. But I think that is a low-hanging fruit. And it's a shame that we can't work together to come up with some kind of an agreement where we could they could at least say, yes, the potential's there to use that water. So
You're exactly right, but it's not because of lacking of trying on our behalf.
No.
Yeah, and that, there will be a decision point for the city and the groundwater authority in, I believe, November of this year, this calendar year, where that is going to expire. So they're going to have to do something. So.
Well, I believe it does expire this calendar year, but what frustrates me is that I asked this at a groundwater meeting, and the groundwater informed me at that time that we could move forward with the city, that they were not going to pursue the project. So
Right.
it's frustrating.
And keep in mind, we issued, I believe, at least 3 letters to them. 2 while Don Zadiba was here, 1 while George was here, I believe, requesting the same thing. Can we have access to that water? No, we have access. We've tried. I think we've put our best foot forward. We did everything we can, and it isn't going to happen until the city decides it's going to happen. So I think we just wait on their decision.
Thank you. Director Rotora.
Yeah, I've been an advocate for recycled water for years. I don't like the idea of keep pushing it out, but frankly, at this point in time, I don't see the point of spending additional money right now, which quite frankly, we don't have.
Okay.
When we do have a need for a lot of other things being done. So reluctantly, I would go along with what's already been said. And we just have to wait until the city wants to play nice and do some teaming with us. And then when they decide that it's time, we'll push forward on it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment or question?
Yes, Judy Decker again. I was originally for this project, but I look at it with great hesitation for whoever might do it. And the hesitation is in the last, I don't know, pick a number, 10, 15 years, the use of illegal drugs has increased a lot. And before you would even go forward with a feasibility study on, from Chuck Krieger as to how to get the water from over there to you and how to treat it, it's treatment. I'm concerned about the ability to take some of these potent drugs, not only the legal ones, but the legal ones that people take, potent drugs. And how are you going to get them out of the water? And I think that's something you don't need to answer it now because I don't think you can. But even if you can, I think you need to look at that really carefully.
All right, thank you.
I'll just comment that the cornerstone of this study relied upon significant sampling of the existing wastewater, including the entire list of EPA chemical of concern list, which is potential future regulated groundwater. There's a list of several hundred chemicals, and we would be looking at all of those. And those are the things that the EPA and other regulatory agencies might regulate in the future. So that would really be the cornerstone. And that, you know, to your point, that's the first thing we would do.
Good, thank you.
Mike Neal again. Okay, so this situation with the city and GA agreement about the recycled water and you guys trying to get some commitment for the city to let the water district have that money. You need to think about one thing here. This is clearly some kind of political gambit on the part of the city. The GA apparently, I don't go to the meetings, I can't stand to be there, has stated they don't have any interest in the water. The city now turns around and, you know, I was watching the language when the discussion went on, says, well, we have a contract with the GA for the, you know, about the recycled water. So, you know, we can't make any commitments. But that's, you have to wait till November when that's over. Well, if they never heard about having a meeting and talk about, you know, terminating the contract a little bit early, that's not hard to do. But of course, Keith Lemieux, you know, just has them say, well, no, we can't do anything until November. So just intentional purpose of putting this off further down the road and not being able to let the water district proceed because they know that the water district is smart enough not to put a bunch of money down on the table until they got a commitment for the water. So you could look for some other gambit in November. Sorry to say, it's high potential that there's going to be some other excuse put forward. So between now and then, there needs to be an effort, multiple efforts, get people to pressure the city to make this commitment. If they don't get the pressure in that November, then, you know, one thing is been made very, very clear over the last years with the GA, and that's that the lawyers behind the city, behind the county, are tricky guys. They're going to come up with something, or just decide, oh, well, no, really, we want to extend the contract between the city and the GA. I mean, the city and the GA has been like this the whole time, working literally in multiple cases against the best interests of the citizens of this valley. And to think that they would change their colors and do what's right for the citizens on this one is a little short-sighted. So we need to be telling our friends and neighbors, doing Facebook posts, you know, whatever, something to get people to be standing up, writing emails, making phone calls, grabbing guys by the collar at the grocery store, wherever, and say, you know, we want that water. That water is there. It's just going away. It's quite a bit, and we need to make use of it.
Okay, thank you. Is Renee waiting to speak? Go ahead, Renee.
Hello, can you hear me?
Affirmative.
Okay. I'm just concerned, like Judy is, about being able to get all contaminants out of the water. But I'm just wondering, is there any use for water that isn't, what is it, safe for human potable use, that wouldn't contaminate the land or anything like that? I mean, what could you use it for if it cannot be totally purified?
Can I, oh, go ahead.
And then, let's put it this way, that there's multiple water treatment and wastewater treatment plants in the state of California. It's done regularly now. The science, the engineering, the methods are all there and super improved right now, well, basically, there's some of them taken and put it right in the drinking water system. So yes, it can be done. And to think that that the California especially would allow any kind of contaminants in it, it just wouldn't happen.
So what we're talking about, though, is a project that would replenish the groundwater table, wouldn't go directly back into the system.
Correct.
There are some water treatment plants that produce water that is so free from any contaminant that the federal government requires them to add material to the water in order to meet federal standards. So they're pretty good at withdrawing these sorts of contaminants.
It's also worth noting that, if the GA were to build an imported water pipeline project, that water, there's no guarantee that water is absolutely perfectly pure either. That water generally comes from the State Water Project, which just comes through the valley where they have all those nice airplanes where I used to live, flying over, spraying chemicals and all the other fun stuff that gets in the canals and then gets injected into the ground and gets pumped out. Yes, it gets treated. So, there's arguments being made on both sides as you look at these other projected solutions as well.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments from the public or questions? All right, so I don't believe we need to do anything about this evening.
That is correct.
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to the Administration Executive Committee, draft driver policy. We're going to review the draft driver policy provided by SDERMA to reflect recent Senate Bill 1100 FEHA, changes to driver's license requirements. Would you care to tackle that?
Sure. It's pretty self-explanatory. The committee did mention having a driver policy that reflected the changes made to the driver's license requirements that just passed in January. So this is just a proposed driver policy, and legal has reviewed it as well
Okay.
and has management.
And those changes at the state level were that you cannot require an employee to have a driver's license if they are not going to be driving on the job or can reasonably expect to find some other way to get to the employment.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
And we're just looking for approval of this by way of motion.
All right, is there any discussion or questions from the board?
Is this the first time that we've got a driver's policy? I didn't recall seeing one before. Okay. That's why it's from SERMA. Yeah. I agree I read it. I actually read it today.
Vice
Nice.
President, yeah.
Well
great.
done.
All right, Vice President Griffin, anything?
I'm good.
Director Rotora? Director Boyd? No. Any comment or questions from the public? Okay, then I'd like to, do we have a motion to accept this new policy?
Excuse me. I'll make a motion that we accept the new Indian Wells Water District driver policy dated March 10th, 2025.
Do I have a second? Director Rotora seconds. All right, let me call for the vote, please.
Sorry.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 2, resolution 2501, stale dated check policy.
Okay, so this one's been a long time coming. Whenever we issue checks, sometimes they aren't cashed. We try to contact, whether it be through the refund check or a vendor payment check, we try to contact the individuals to tell them, hey, you've got an outstanding check. Please cash it, or do we need to reissue it? Anyway, sometimes We've got some that have been sitting on the books for years, and it stays there as a liability even if the cash hasn't been removed. So what this does is this follows the state law that allows, rather than transferring those uncashed checks, the funds to the state, we can retain them here. Anything under $15 after a year, we can just go ahead and move them off of the books. Anything over 15 and over and 3 years old, there's a process that publication, whether it be on our website and in the newspaper, to try to contact the individuals that way. And after 45 days, we can wipe them off as well. So.
Okay, Director Boyd.
So I've received checks before in the past, and they have a little 90-day clause on them. Is that an obvious solution for us as well? Just get checks to have the?
We do have that, but that doesn't satisfy the requirements. We still have to keep them for however
The
long.
banks would still entertain cashing them?
Sometimes they do, and if not, then we can reissue them, and we have done that in the past.
Okay.
Director Rotora?
I'm assuming that legal has looked at this and agree that it complies with all of our state requirements.
We have and we do.
Okay, thank you.
Vice President Griffin? Director Kaczynski?
The Finance Committee looked at this and is recommending approval by the board.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion from the board? Do we have any questions or comments from the public? All right. Do I have a motion to accept this resolution?
Also move.
All right.
Second.
Then let's go for the vote, please.
President St. Amand,
Yes.
Vice President Griffin,
Yes.
Director Boyd,
Yes.
Director Kaczynski,
Yes.
Director Rotora.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item F, Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Report and discussion regarding the February meeting of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Who would like to tackle that?
All right. We did have a meeting in February, and there is a meeting this Wednesday. So in 2 days, hopefully the public can attend that. At the last meeting, they went over the settlement agreement with Mojave Pistachios. They brought that up, discussed that. I did not vote on that. I abstained. I told them that we were not involved in any negotiations, was not allowed in closed session, so I didn't feel it was right to vote on that, not knowing anything about it, so I did abstain from that. The next thing was the periodic evaluation. I asked them that the district, if they would postpone submitting that if there was not a penalty, and I asked a couple times, is there a penalty or is there any issue with not turning it in right now? They said there wasn't a financial penalty, but it was due, and they wanted to get it turned in, so they were going to post that on the website the Friday after last month's meeting and make it available at that time for everybody to look at, and then it will be voted on this Wednesday to submit the periodic evaluation. They did inform me, I said it would be nice to be able to use the information from the water district. And, you know, at that point I hadn't even seen the periodic review, so I asked them, could we're not having a chance for our consultants to look at it to see if our science was used. They indicated that at that point that our model was due. We didn't have a model. I said we did have a model, but I didn't want to argue anymore. So I asked them though that if we could at any time make an update to the periodic review, and they said yes. If your guys' model gets turned in, we review it, then we could change the periodic evaluation. So they're going to do that. The next thing was a word of letter of an intent to the Army Corps of Engineers. I asked if this letter of intent was project specific or if it was just a letter of intent to seek the Army Corps of Engineers help. It was project specific to the pipeline. So I did vote no. It was my thought that any vote of a yes on a pipeline project would indicate that myself or the district was supporting the pipeline. So I did vote no on that WERDA letter. And then there was, they introduced the second transient pool, and I'm sure that will be discussed more this week. So they're making a second transient pool as part of the settlement with Mojave Pistachios. It looks like there's going to be a 20,000 acre feet second transient pool. 16,000 of that is my understanding that's going to go to Mojave Pistachios. And then the other 4,000 will be distributed to other ags or other users. So we'll learn more about that Wednesday at this meeting. There was 3 amendments to contracts, and they all involved pipeline change orders, extensions, different situations. So I did vote no on those 3 amendments. Again, for the same reason, I do not support the pipeline. And if the district wants me to vote different, then that we would have to vote on that. But I disagree with supporting it in any aspect if we're not 100% for the pipeline. And basically that's it. Again, the meeting is Wednesday, and hope we get some attendance.
I had a couple of comments as well. We've already talked about the water rights from the wastewater treatment plant. We did receive a request from the GA to coordinate. They're doing their 60% design review, and they want to come over and coordinate the point at which they want to connect to our system. And I wanted to put this out just so the board could give staff guidance. It's a sensitive topic, knowing the board has come out in opposition to the pipeline. So just open up the board to give us a little bit of direction of what level of coordination with the GA we should have on their pipeline design. And we talked about this one of the committee meetings and decided to bring this forward.
Okay, Director Kaczynski, were you at the meeting as well?
Not that particular meeting, but I'm
Okay,
very
would you
aware
like
of
to
it.
input then? Go ahead.
Yeah, so if George, are you done for a moment? I'm dead set against it, as you know. I've always felt that if this pipeline was to ever occur, that it's for the whole valley, not for the water district. And the second point is that when you look at, these cost estimates were done in 2021, it's almost called $15 million that it would cost us to modify our system, not including annual operation and maintenance expenses. So in my opinion, that they ought to look at, if they're going to bring it here at all, that ought to independently look at just injecting it into our aquifer. Because I think for 15 million, this is 2021 dollars. So call it 20 million now. You could probably go ahead and put an injection well in, and mostly gravity fed. So I'm dead set against this. I think it's not for our system. It's too much change to our system, significant operation requirements, including we would have to go all through certification to handle surface water. Big difference. So that's my feeling on it.
Right. Director Rotora?
I guess I kind of look at this like the recycled water project. We just don't have enough money or enough talent, labor to go chasing after rabbits. I think we've given them every indication we're willing to help if they work with us, and they've shown no indication they want to work with us. I keep seeing articles in newspapers where constantly are ragging on us. I see no point in trying to work with them, quite frankly. I know that's a bad attitude, but it's where I've gotten over the last 5 years trying to work with them, and I don't think it's worth it.
Understood. Director Boyd?
It occurs to me that every time we've tried to point out the complexities of hooking up a pipeline system to our water system, that those inputs have been ignored. We've talked about this until we're blue in the face. And, they're dead set on one approach. That they're not talking about injection. They're not talking about putting it into the valley. They're talking about putting it into our water system. And we disagree with that, and they're just not listening. So I don't see what the value would be of getting together unless they come about and, show signs of being willing to consider other options.
Understood.
I just want to make a comment. Stan brought up the letter that was printed by the Groundwater Authority, by the city, actually. It was shared by the city on their Facebook page on behalf of the Groundwater Authority. So I want to make a comment on that, and then I will be making a comment Wednesday also. But the letters that got sent out, I guess I want to know if are presented to any other board members before they get seen, because I did not have a chance to read that letter. And it's very troubling to me to see the scare tactics that's put up that the city, where our wells are gonna go dry and people's are gonna run out of water. So that concerns me. So thank you for bringing that up, Stan.
And I'll also like to remind Chuck that we were told when we voted on the GSP originally that it was a living document. And it was shortly thereafter, we were told that no, GSP is a GSP. So I'd like you to think about that when you're voting on the assessment document.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, Mike Neal, Ken, and let me just comment on this tie-in study or whatever. And I said it at the committee meeting last week. I'll say it again to get on public record here. The water district has made it crystal clear that they oppose the pipeline project. Therefore, and by matter of principle, if nothing else, they should refuse participation in anything, designs, estimates, anything connected with the pipeline project. If you're not supportive of it, then you shouldn't support anything else, which you are not. But cost shouldn't even be a consideration. It's just, we're against it and we're not going to support it. And whatever you come up with that supports it, we're against it till we finally get past this hump. Now, as far as the city, and this goes back to what I commented earlier, the city and the GA's little joint at the hip here. Here's the latest post, which you got reference to the Facebook posting, which was probably back in February, against the water district per se. Here's one that they posted, City of Ridgecrest, on behalf of IWVGA, March 3rd, talking about Searles Valley Minerals, saying this scare baby, what I call scare baby inflammatory wording, SVM is using lawsuits to delay our water future. Then they twist the truth. They say their latest claim about the GA withholding public information is false. The GSP has been developed over many years, so forth and so on. Well, I know personally, they did not ask for a copy of the GSP. My word, they've had that for how long now. They wanted to see the basin water model study, which GA just holds like they're going to bleed to death if they ever let it out, and they're not giving it, and they're just making false. They talk about SVM making false statements. This is full of it. And it goes on and says, these tactics are meant to stall the solution we desperately need, importing water to the basin before it runs dry. I have never at any point seen anybody act so ridiculous, I guess, what I have to say about, oh, the basin's gonna run dry, the basin's gonna, not even their numbers indicate anything close to that, anywhere in the near future. And yet somebody is posting it, and Chuck needs to find out what member of the staff, which I feel it is, and I could name a name, but I won't bother, is directing these kind of statements to be put out on Facebook. And those people need to be told, quit jumping outside of your job description, or we're going to push for you to be fired. That there needs to be an end to this stupidity. Now, let me go back to email I sent today. You guys may or may not have had time to look at it, but I asked for the well sounding data from the water district, and I got it from 2004, 2024. The very worst case, well number 3, over 20 years, went down an average of about a foot a year. That was the worst one. Okay, 3 others went down less than that, but there are 3 others that went up. If you average all that, you come out to like 1/10 of a foot per year water well levels going down over those 10 wells. Where's the big problem? I mean, we're talking about wells that are scattered all over the valley, so they're hitting different parts of the aquifer, and the average is basically no decrease in water well level. So that's obviously just one data point, but, you know, we've seen tons and tons and tons of data. Every well in the valley is going down a foot a year. Where it's going down a foot a year. 40 years, we're going to be out of water. It's hard to believe when you see numbers like this.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to comment also on Mr. Neal's comments. There was a couple posts on Facebook this week where Kern County Water Agency was actually out doing their well measuring. And Mr. Fields posted that his well actually went up, I believe it was 1.2 feet, or I think it was 12 or 14 inches or 16 inches. So it showed an increase. So to put the scare tactics out that things are going down, I know, you know, I'd asked Jason at the last meeting, our wells, we said well 17 and 9, 8, some of those had went up.
Yeah, are there also, all of the arsenic wells have gone up, basically.
Okay.
I believe we have a viewer online. Go ahead, Renee.
Yes, this is Renee Westelusk. I just have a question. You talk about injecting the water from the pipeline into our aquifer, but wouldn't you still have to treat that water to purify it before injecting it into the aquifer? Because as Mr. Kroll has pointed out, there may be contaminants in the pipeline.
Yes, the answer is there are federal standards that would have to be treated to certain levels before it could be injected.
Wouldn't that be an expense for the water district?
The water district, if they were to tap into our system, the water would have to be treated to add it to our system. If they intend to inject it into the aquifer, the water district would have no part of that project, and that would be an expense for the GA.
And to be clear, the water is treated at a plant that I visited up in Rosemont. That water is considered potable as it's shipped over to California City. And the current pipeline design is designed such that they would add additional chlorine as it came over. And the theory would be that it would come through the pipeline in potable condition, although we're not sure that there was a point in time where there's a similar sort of pipeline that goes to boron, and we asked the GA, can you please provide us with the water samples that are going to boron? I don't believe we ever received those. What we wanted to do was look at what are these constituents and what is the kind of water that comes out of this AVEC water system. But unfortunately, we never got the samples, although I do believe in the same, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we did. I think we did give them samples of our water as well, isn't that correct?
They came out one time and took samples, yes.
Yeah, but we never got samples from them, like the boron pipeline, is that correct?
We did not receive anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So we were trying to figure it out, but lacking samples, there's not much you can do.
Director Kaczynski, do you have a comment?
Yeah, the bottom line is if it's going to go into our system, it's got to be treated a certain way. And if it goes in the aquifer, it'll have to be treated a certain way. Both of those costs would have to be handled by the GA.
The regulations are different. when
Right.
you're
Exactly.
injecting
Yeah,
water.
they're different types of treating, but the regulations are there.
We'd have
State-
to remove chlorine and. stuff.
Right, yeah.
And should have been part of their estimate of the pipeline costs, which it appears it was not.
Okay. So we've had a financial study done that shows that the cost of imported water, even before it was treated, would be prohibitively expensive, that large metropolitan areas would not undertake the project. And we have been treated by the Groundwater Authority rather roughly with the periodic attacks against the character and the operations of the water district. I don't think that's very helpful on their part. And we have them using scare tactics and about how we're all going to wind up with no water and dry wells. And the scientific data, the latest data that we've been able to accrue, does not support that. There is significantly more water in storage than they claim, and I think significantly more water coming into the valley than they're willing to accept. So it is my opinion that we do not cooperate with them on this. I think it was the last time the board discussed it, we said there would be we would not be open to having them tap into our system and deliver water to us. Some years, amount of water that they're planning to import would actually exceed the amount of water used by the water district. So then we would have to shut our wells down and then do something with the surplus water. And that would involve treatment and injection of the ground as well. So I think it's a terrible idea. And I'm personally opposed to cooperating with them any further on this project.
Now, we had the resolution, I don't remember the number of it, back when we came out against the pipeline. Do we need to do anything with this, Jim, of an official letter?
I think staff is well informed of the board's intention and we will follow through,
Okay, thank you.
or I guess not follow through in this case.
Thank them politely and decline their offer.
So I have one last little note on the GA. And that
Okay.
is that the Groundwater Authority, I'd like to thank our legal team. We're doing very well in the adjudication. And we now have a phase 1 and phase 2 trial set. And the court seems very receptive to that. So in response, the GA has gone to Sacramento and has proposed legislation that would, Jim, how would you describe their legislation? It gives them sort of unmitigated authority and sort of would circumvent the adjudication process?
About that. Yeah, but they're looking, I think you've all seen that they had a proposal that went out last month. It's looking to amend a water code 10726.6. Basically, intent is to retroactively have the law changed to where a GSP can only be challenged through a validation action, which is 180 days after approval by the GA. And so they're looking for another way to protect the science in the GSP and, make it immune from review.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comment? Then let's move on to item F, please, comprehensive adjudication. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Judy. No, that's all right.
Don't look that fast anymore. I have a question. When is the Water District's groundwater model going to come out?
April 21st.
It's my birthday. You
Happy
send-
birthday.
Will you send me a gold-plated copy?
I wish I would keep it, actually. It will be out April 28th.
28th.
I'm sorry, April 21st. I'm sorry, Judy.
Make up your mind.
April 21st. It's my birthday. I was thinking about your birthday.
And when you say it'll be out, will it be out for the public to review or just the lawyers?
I believe so. They're working on some orders. I can confirm that for you. Whether it's just going to be a release to the court, I'm not sure. There are some protective order issues. The Navy has claimed certain information in there is protected.
What does that mean?
Well, it means it could be just made available to the parties initially or the whole time. It depends on what the parties agree to and what a protective order would look like. So I can't entirely answer that question.
Do you all realize that was a true attorney answer?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday in advance. Very good. Jim, comprehensive adjudication.
Sure, there's really not a lot to report here. Again, the phase 1 trial to quantify the Federal Reserve water right is scheduled for April 28th. Right now, watching the parties' discoveries going forward, and I totally expect the trial to kick off on the 28th. With respect to phase 2, we've already discussed the model in the production on the 21st of April. The only thing that's going on, it's really related to that, is you'll recall at the last case management conference, the district requested and was provided with a 60-day extension to produce the model. As a result of that, now the Navy and the technical and the GA are arguing that the trial needs to be continued for another at least 60 days to give them sufficient time. There's, in my opinion, more than sufficient time, even with the April production. I mean, we're talking about a a trial in 2026, not next year. So tomorrow at 10:30, there's what's called an informal discovery conference, at which time the parties will discuss with the court. And the only issue really that's going to be decided is whether to keep or extend the trial date. And if they extend it, I expect it to be by 60 days. That's all I've got on the adjudication.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, then let's move on to item G, General Manager and Staff Update. Item 1, Water Production, New Services and Personnel Safety Record.
Okay, 243 million gallons produced in February. Sorry, I didn't update the months on this. I'm looking at my slide. And I know that consumption number is wrong. I must have typed that in incorrectly. So I'm going to take a pass on that one, because I know it's wrong. I think it was like 215. I know it was less than the 243. I don't know what happened to our slide there. So what day was that?
What month? Was that January, February?
It was February.
Okay. So this includes that.
Yeah, what did we estimate? About 1.8 million gallons lost in that water break. And that's my next bullet. Brady line repairs are in work. So we had to cut back about 50 feet of pipe. We welded on flanges and reducers, and we're putting the pipe in this week. We hope to have that repair completed this week, next week.
The pipe is in the ground, George.
Pipe is in the ground?
Pipe is in the ground as of the end of the day. We hope to be shading it tomorrow, putting some cover on it and slowly filling it up as the week goes on.
Okay, awesome. Crews are doing great work out there. We did have one minor injury to report. We had an employee cut his hand, required, I believe, 4 stitches. So we did some post-incident briefings on safety about that. So nothing too serious. I believe he missed maybe a couple hours of work. 20 water smart conversations, 17 field visits, 76 delinquent account lockoffs this month. That's down a little bit, but still very high.
Okay.
Any questions? Next slide. Okay. Just going over committees, if there's anything here that's of interest that we have forgotten to discuss, we talked about from the Finance Committee, the imported water cost, financial statements, grant writing assistance is something we might want to look into as we move forward. We already talked about potential collaboration with the Navy, plant and equipment. We talked about Rademacher, and it's probably worth noting that I've asked staff to look into how can we achieve putting the Rademacher section of pipe into service without cutting into the Springer pipeline at this point in time due to some of the other risks that we're facing. And I know they're working on it. I don't know, Jason, you guys haven't quite gotten a plan together yet?
We're having a meeting tomorrow morning about it.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a Plan B approach to the Rademacher and probably connect to something other than the Springer pipeline is what we're looking at. Might be a little bit more expensive, but we feel like it poses far less risk and might get us there before the summer. That's the goal.
George, just a quick question. Have you heard from the lady that we filled up the water that was needing water? I've not, so I didn't know if she needed to be refilled or.
No, she has my number and she has your number. I've
Okay.
not heard anything. We'll talk about consolidations a little bit later. And the Northwest Transmission Line bag update, we'll save that for Renee. Recycled water feasibility we studied. Arsenic plants, everything else we've studied in admin executive committee. I think we've covered everything on that, including public records requests. So next slide. Nothing upcoming as far as public outreach, as far as speaking. Jason did brief, it was the Daughters of the Revolution, is that correct?
Daughters of the American Revolution.
Daughters
so
of the
people don't
American
think that it's
Revolution
the French
last
Revolution or
Saturday.
anything like that.
Give us a quick report on that. That was good. I was out of town on a medical appointment, so Jason took that one for me.
So I met with the ladies and we went over the pipeline, the cost, the state of the water in the valley and conservation. It was well received and apparently facilitated some discussion after I left. Imported, yes.
Yep. And, you know, we continue to update our webpage. I think it's looking better. I haven't gotten as many complaints as I have in the past, so that's really good. Thanks to staff for that. We continue to post our own social media stuff. Worth noting, I asked the city if they would post our stuff if we forwarded it to them. I guess the answer was no. I don't have to guess the answer no. The answer was no. And we continue to forward you newspaper and other articles as they come to us. Any questions? Next slide. Ta-da!
I had to update the slide after the bag was found. So you can go on to the next picture. There's a picture of Justin holding the bag.
Oh, we have the bag. Look,
We have the bag.
he's smiling. We
So
yeah.
it was found basically where we thought it was. It had got caught up on that first butterfly valve. And you can see the next picture shows you the butterfly valve right there. It's in its open position. You can see the bag sitting there on the bottom there. So Justin basically with his hand and a crowbar reached in and pulled it out.
And it's in one piece. It's not even tattered, messed up or anything.
So we didn't have to go any farther than that. It took a whole 15 minutes to do that. So that will get us moving again on that pipeline. Have some change orders to button up with them. And we did ask them, we put in a request for a change order to go under the highway at Brady in preparation for replacing the pipeline in Brady. And Justin actually just texted me an update. He said he wanted us to make sure we knew that they were working on that. They were waiting on some costs from some of their suppliers, and we should have that this week from the contractor.
Okay.
And they did do the fencing repairs. so
Where are
they're
we at
completed.
as far as the used pipe? I've noticed a post on Facebook. I received a text from one of our council members asking about it. So
I've got nothing new on that. I know George has reached out to the contractor. I'm not sure if you ever got anything back from him.
Jim,
George.
did you ever send the letter?
I did not send that letter. I can reach out though and
yeah, it's very frustrating to me. And so I understand we need to get this done, but I also don't want to just keep issuing them change orders if they're not going to take care of this pipe.
No, I
It's
understand.
a huge concern for me.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow and talk. And what's it been, a couple months already?
Mhm.
And, you know, that was the initial estimate and see if we can't find if they have a timeline for us, a more definitive timeline.
Interestingly, like when we pulled that section of pipe out, I think we were able to recycle the piece of pipe that we had to blow up. Is that correct?
Yeah, Bertrand's came over and picked it up from the job site and took it away.
They charge us for it.
And they didn't charge us for it. So I'm not sure what the contractor's difficulty is. Maybe it's just because of the quantity. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but we certainly didn't have any trouble getting rid of our pipe for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, I know I talked to Bertrand's and he said that he would dispose of their pipe, but there would be a fee because it was quite a bit of work to recycle it. But
Director Boyd?
And in case the public is curious, it sounds like the problem is not going to get worse with the new discovery of the pipeline failures because we're considering putting pipe inside the pipe.
I think we'll talk about that on item 7.
Oh, is that coming up?
That is.
Yeah.
Okay.
A quick question. Is this the valve that I kept saying to pull? Remember I kept saying the valve right there, pull that valve, pull it first?
Well, yeah, that's what. we
And that's
ended
where
up
it
doing.
was.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the one next to it.
See-
I'm not going to give you
See,
credit. It's the one
mechanical engineers do have X-ray vision.
And
I saw
Jason
that.
not Jason, but Justin had told him several times, well, why don't you just dig up there at the valve? and
Yeah,
go?"
I know. I Justin did too, yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, it's
I
found.
was quite surprised.
I'm glad it's found. Now we can move ahead.
Hey,
Yes.
Judy, you had a question? Could you please go to the microphone? Thank you.
Sorry, Judy.
What is your general estimate of when you think the 178 line may be back in service?
The problem is we can't put it back in service till we've got the Brady line repair done. So,
Oh,
because they are connected.
yes, they are.
So as soon as we can.
And
We got to do our own, flushing and disinfecting
Well, I
and
know
then,
you have to
yeah.
do that, and that takes time.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else on this line, Renee? All right, item 5, water system consolidation.
So at the request of Director Kaczynski, I did put in which ones we're talking about.
Right, yeah, I can't understand, yeah. I get confused.
So perhaps Jim can give us an update. Jim was working on the legal language of the agreement between Dune 3 and the district, and we were hoping to have a draft of that by last week.
That's fairly accurate, except for I have not had time. It's taken a little bit longer. I've told Renee about some of the issues I'm trying to deal with. We will have it here and ready for board consideration at the April board meeting.
Okay, sounds good. And that will also be a basis for the one we will need for hometown also pretty quick.
Yeah, that's part of it. We're trying to make this as a template because we've already got 4 consolidations. So every time we have a future consolidation, we'd like to have a template for the agreement with the consolidating agency, and the forms aren't real great for us. So that's all.
So hold on one moment. We have someone online. Renee, did you have a question?
Yes, Renee Westerlusk. I had a question going back to the Northwest transmission pipeline.
Go ahead.
Renee Morkencho said you cannot put this back in service until the Brady line is finished. What does that really mean? Does that mean you've got to make the connection under the highway redone before you can put the Northwest transmission line in service?
No, the repair to the Brady line needs to be completed.
You're talking about on the other side of the highway that goes from Drummond to,
Yes,
which-
Flores.
so how much longer will it take to get the Brady line? Is it 2 weeks more? You have to flush it out and all that stuff?
so
So best case scenario.
best case scenario is next week.
And
Worst
then
case scenario is, I don't know.
So when we worked the Northwest transmission line, they patched an initial leak, repressurized the line, and additional leaks developed. We're hoping that does not happen with the Brady line. So the best case, 2 weeks. Worst case, hard to say.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We'll continue with the updates here. I
Please.
had a virtual kickoff meeting last week with the consulting engineering firm GHD that's working on Dune 3. We talked about finishing the plans up, getting the contract documents, specs completed, that kind of thing. The state has the right of entry agreement that they're looking at. Hopefully, I will have an update on that next week when we have a meeting. And those are going to be for Dune 3 and hometown. And those are the agreements between the property owner and the district so that the contractor and for hometown, the district's employees can go on their property and do the changeover from our meter to their house.
Okay.
For hometown, the potholing was finished and we did the measuring out there for the potholing, sent that to Kruger and Stewart. So I'm hoping, I was told last week it would be about 2 weeks to get that design complete. It'll probably be at about a 90%. Then we got to send that to the Division of Drinking Water for their approval. That's required for the grant. And I know that the Division of Drinking Water also had a meeting with Hometown, the head of the Hometown Co-op, just last Monday. And they emphasized the need for consolidation. And I believe they're going to be participating in a meeting with all of the Hometown members here in the next few weeks. And hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that.
Okay.
I should be getting an update on that once that happens. Rademacher, as you know, George talked about hopefully getting the phase 1, at least I would hope with the construction crew, we can get it put in, we can get that tap done as soon as we can, put the T in and get them hooked up. Phase 2, we got a preliminary alignment from Krieger and Stewart. We're gonna be talking to them soon about that because Jesta and I've been reviewing it. And I haven't gotten all the easement documents yet. I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Jim about whether they're absolutely necessary. We sent out 5 easement documents. I got 2 back. There is a dedication or an offer of dedication for a road out there. So it may not be absolutely necessary that we have easements for everybody, but Jim and I can talk about that. But it's moving along.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? And public? All right, let's go ahead and move on to item 6, financial status. Ty.
Okay, through February of 2025, we have received $11.4 million in revenue, which is 1.3 million better than the budget. The expenditures are at 12.1 million, which is 280,000 above budget, for a net of a negative about 700,000, which is $1 million better than budget. There is some, I need to do a little work on one of the budget lines. It's straight lined and I need to adjust that a little bit. That would actually bring the net negative a little bit higher, but we're still doing a lot better than budget. As far as capital expenditures, we're just at 7 million. Of that, 6 million is funded by either the grant from Shannon Groves, the 555,000 from the assessment district revenue, and bond proceeds. So we've spent just under $1 million from rate revenue on capital projects, including the groundwater model and whatnot. Got 820,000 in debt service principal, and to date, the GA has been paid $16,934,621.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, any questions from the public?
Mike Neal, just real quick, to hear that we have had to pay $16 million to the GA for what we've got, which would not be nothing but a failed project that would bankrupt the valley almost. It threatens to bankrupt jobs from Searles Valley. Nothing good looks to be coming from it, and yet we paid $16 million down the hole to it to date. This needs to stop.
All right, thank you for your comment. Renee Westelusk.
I just have a question, well, actually 2 questions. One is about the Finance Committee report, number 7, where it said fiscal year 2026 budget update. It said to avoid issues discovered after the FY 2025 budget was adopted, namely inaccurate or insufficient information being communicated regarding outstanding consulting agreements, et cetera. Are the numbers for the rate increase having to be adjusted? Is that what that paragraph's about?
No, it just highlighted some deficiencies we had in receiving information to put into the budget. It didn't directly impact anything with the rate studies other than our overall capital outlay plan and operations budget.
Okay. And then on the revenues, could you tell me what the non-operating income is? And the capital contributions, that's from contractors that pay fees, I assume?
It's the capital contributions are contractor fees as well as any dedications. So not strictly a cash transaction, but if like the school, when they hook up, they'll dedicate their facilities to us, as well as hotels and whatnot. Non-operating revenue is like interest payments or interest we receive from investments or where we hold our cash.
Oh. Okay.
And some other ones, any miscellaneous revenue. We do have the farm rent from Alancha. anything that doesn't fit in those other buckets.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So just to reiterate briefly, we're operating slightly in the red, but not as bad as had been planned.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mostly because we've seen an increase in water usage this year compared to last year. That's probably not always going to be the case. We got the new rates. We could see an impact again where it goes back down. It's also been warmer. So,
Very good. Thank you. All right. Item 7, everybody's second favorite topic, the Brady Street Transmission Pipeline. You've pretty much already covered this, yes?
Yeah, we covered it. It's repaired. We'll be shading it tomorrow and hopefully filling it by the end of the week and flushing and testing.
Okay, good. Questions from the board? Additional questions from the public? All right. Item 8, arsenic treatment facilities.
So staff removed all the media from Plant 2. They're making internal repairs, some corrosion that they found, replacing things, getting some stainless steel welded. And when that's all finished, we'll be installing the new media in preparation for summer.
Board questions? Questions from the public? All right, operations, item 9.
For the month of February, we had 8 replacements and, 8 replacements and 7 repairs. And NODES did not run. We turned a valve. And the GS continues to work with water supply. They're also working on a overall system upgrade, so they've been working on that. And maintenance was a little busy with the Brady line, so that's why those numbers are down.
All right. Questions from the board? Public? Okay, then we'll go ahead to item number 10, board comments and future agenda items. I'll start to my left. Director Kaczynski.
Oh, lucky me. Not a lot to say. It's, the district's working hard as usual. I truly appreciate it. We have a lot of challenges in the future, and I know we can handle them. But I want to thank everybody for tonight and for, all the work that goes into putting these meetings together. Thank you.
All right, very good. Vice President Griffin.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Director Rotora.
I'm lady that we've got the plastic.
Director Boyd.
I wanted to commend George and your staff on the way you're presenting the information to us. The previous general manager would just come in and talk. We didn't have any reference points, so your charts are very helpful for me. I would, though, request if it's possible, and I don't understand the timelines in developing these slides, so this could be a not fair question, but if it's possible to put them in the board packet so that we can have a kind of a permanent record of them, that would be, or even afterwards, it would be nice to have in addition to our records.
Okay, we will consider that. I know that a whole bunch of us were working on these at the last minute. I mean, I usually come in on the morning of the board meeting and I get them first and try to put my numbers in. And as you saw, once again, I made some typographical errors. But I don't see any reason why we couldn't take these once they're done with the meeting and put them in for approval at the next board meeting as part of the official record. Would that be okay?
That's perfect.
Lauren?
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect from my standpoint.
We could also just put them on the website, which we do a lot of. We do post the PowerPoints on our
Okay.
website, if that works.
Looking for the easiest
I think that-
solution, so posting it.
With, after amendments for typographical areas, posting to the website would be perfect.
Right.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for a good meeting. I want to thank the folks for coming tonight. You have a comment, sir?
Do we get to comment on future agenda items? I'm not sure about that one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I brought this up at the committee meeting last week. I continue to ask that you put an agenda item on some date in the near future to give direction to the staff, basically, to do what I've been talking about and look at how much front lawn, green grass landscaping we've got in town and what the estimate on, water savings we could have if just go, full out and say, if all that went away, how much would we save? So we can, I may be way off, but since we don't know, I'm gonna say 1,000 acre feet. could be easily. So we need to, if it's not, if it's just a few hundred acre feet that we're gonna save a year from that, then obviously it's not worth it, but I think it's worth looking at, and you guys need to, staff's not gonna, take my word on this and go busy. They need to hear from you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and I want to let you know that your comment at the committee meeting was well received, and Director Kaczynski asked that we put this on our next board workshop so we have an appropriate amount of time to talk about these issues.
I would remind the board that we have tried the cash for grass once. It wasn't very successful. And then number two, and you talk a lot about conservation, Mike, and we do have an ordinance, I believe it's still in place, that when you come to the water district and ask for a will serve letter, if you're a house, you have to agree, and it's a recorded document, that you will use Xeriscape in your front yard. So we already have that in place, and we have tried cash for grass. That's all I thought.
You shouldn't admit that in public.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your hard work. Oh, I'm sorry, Renee, you have a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what's the date in April they'll be turning on the arsenic treatment plant?
I don't have a date yet. We'll see what happens when we get the media in. There's a lot of disinfection and flushing that goes on with it. So when we get closer, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 11, date of next regular board meeting is April 14th, 2025. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 7:38 PM. Thank you again.